Hello and welcome to today's demonstration of the female figure. This is going to be a schematic front view of how to do a female figure. Basic proportions, things to remember. So, let's start with the center line of the standing figure. What we're going to do is mark off where the head's going to be and roughly where the feet are going to be. In actuality, this is an 8-head figure, but the feet go a little bit beyond the 8 heads, so they're kind of additional. Anyway, you look at your line and you pick a point that looks like it's halfway. Say right about there. 8 heads, we got divided in half, so you want to get it divided into quarters. Try and keep them as even as you can. Once you get them divided into quarters, you divide one of them in half, and that gives you an 1/8. And by doing that, what you now have is the size, how big you want the head to be. So I'm going to draw the egg shape of the head. Okay, now on a female figure, the shoulders are not as wide as we did with the male figure. So what we want to do is halfway between the 1/8 mark for the base of the head and this mark here is roughly where the shoulders are going to be. When you draw the shoulders, they're going to be narrow, and also check from side to side that it's symmetrical. Now I want to say that it's better to exaggerate characteristics that are true, show them beyond a reasonable doubt, so since a female has narrower shoulders, keep them narrow. In a female figure, if you drop a straight line down from where the shoulders are, that'll give you the width of the hips. In other words, the shoulders and the hips are the same width. So, based on that, you can draw a reverse triangle from the one you already drew to help fit in the forms of the torso. They should meet roughly close to halfway. Alright, and now I'm going to go down to the legs. Just doing the outer shape of the legs, and again I'm looking from side to side to make sure things look symmetrical. Kind of gives it like a Coke bottle feel. This would be the base of the knees, so then you're going to have the lower leg right about here. And notice we come down and we're roughly very close to where the feet would be, and they're slightly beyond. Okay, so now we have the basic proportions. So I'm going to put in the neck. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking the neck is getting wider towards the base. It doesn't. What happens is the shoulder, well, it's actually the trapezius, comes up, and on a woman it attaches much lower than it does on a man. So it gives the impression that she has a long neck, which makes it look more feminine. Men, it can come up, depending on how muscular they are, it can come up almost to where the base of the chin is, in contrast. Okay, the major forms of the torso are the rib cage, which is shaped like an egg, and the hips, which are very close in size to the rib cage, but tilted on the side. Okay, and now, just as on the male, you have the shoulders, but the shoulders are not as big. They still go down a third of the way down the upper arm, but they're not as big. and then you have the arms. Now I draw the arms with a curve because that's the way the bones are. It stops the figure from looking stiff. And it's actually the way people's arms are. They're not rigid. Okay, and again, where the rib cage ends, helps you place where the elbows are going to be. Where the torso ends, helps you place where the wrists are going to be. The hands, in this case, I'm just going to draw kind of a triangular shape because that's the way the palms would look if you look at them side view. Okay, to make her look a little more feminine, I'm going to add hair. Now the hair goes beyond the dimensions of the head. So, especially on a woman, you can make big hair. So here's her hair shape. Alright, so now, as far as attaching the breasts, halfway across the rib cage. Think of them at first as an elongated kind of pill shape, and then you can subdivide it like this, and they attach back. As far as the lines go, they go actually back to the shoulders this way. Okay, now we got the upper leg. Now in the lower leg you get two small diamond type shapes. One is immediately between the knees. The second one will be larger, and that's between the shins. Remember though, you have this type of relationship with the calf muscles, and then you have the opposite relationship with the ankles. Okay, so now I'm going to switch to a darker, well, at least a more precise pencil. And by the way, when you draw, it's always good to pick up your paper and look at it in reverse to see how it's doing. But also, if you notice, I was using several sheets of paper to keep things soft to draw on top of. Now that I'm trying to detail it out a little bit more with extra information, I'm going to use less paper, just another sheet under, just to keep it decent. So, here's the head, here's the neck. Now keep the neck skinnier too than on a guy. It's not as wide as the head. I'm going to work my way down so you find the collarbones. Here's the collarbone, which kind of look like if you took a hanger and turned it upside down. Here's the pit of the neck. Anyway, that's basically the feel of the collarbones. Okay, now you got the shoulders, and again it goes down 1/3 of the way down the upper arm, but you don't need to worry about putting in real musculature. You just want to get the outer shape right. And again, this is a little bit of a diamond shape, but it's not anywhere as pronounced as on the guy, because what gives it the diamond shape is the muscles, but you still get that outer side being higher than the inner side. Okay, and then here's the chest muscle, which is, and then here would be the breast. Okay, and now you got the rib cage, and there's like a section, you know, you always hear about the hourglass figure. There's a section kind of between the rib cage, this is the underside of the rib cage by the way, where in a woman. By the way, this is an idealized figure. Just get that out of the way. Anyway, so, and here would be the first, here's where all the stomach muscles would be. This is the first tier, goes right along where the rib cage is. The second is right here, and that would give you where the belly button lies, because that's right underneath that. Okay, so here's the hips, and then what happens is, what makes it have a slight dip is there's a bone, your leg bone sticks out. A lot of people think that's the hip, but that's actually the leg bone right here. So you get a slight dip, and then you go into the leg. I'm going to put some clothes on her just for, because it's starting to get kind of a developed drawing. So here's her shirt, the collar. Her belt line usually ends up right around here. Okay, so again, there's a slight dip, and then it comes out for the leg bone, and then drops down. The legs, you got to think of them as inserting into the hips, like this. Okay, now we come down, and when you hit the knee area, remember this marks the base of the knees. So when you hit the knee area, you square it off. I'm going to give her trunks or shorts. Okay, so here you go, squaring it off. Now, down to here. And again, look for that little, switching pencils because that one's getting dull. And this one doesn't have a point. Okay, so you got the little diamond here, and then the lower diamond here. Okay, and the feet, the inside tends to be straight up and down, but think of the feet in general as a kind of a triangular shape right here. Okay, and then if you wanted to think of, put in the indication of the knees here and here. You're not going to see much muscle, so I'm just bringing that in. And again, the shin. Remember that long line from the male demonstration. And there we have the basic schematic of a female.